All right, you guys, I am kind of starting from the middle of this project. Last time I tried to get it started and we realized it wasn't as simple as just dropping in this little part. What we're doing today is adding on the part to make the handlebars move up and down on a standard GTX. This one did not have the moving steering wheel. It's one of the rental styles that they do. So we'll go over, we're gonna have to end up completely moving, or removing the top panel there. As you can see, we've got it over there, and getting this part here out. What I discovered online was that this part is the same part number for both the 230s, the 170s, the Wake, all of the additions. The difference in them was this little tiny block right here and these little tiny rubber pads. These little rubber pads allow this to move, and then this basically drops in like that to go in it. But without these rubber pads, this part would not move. So that's what I'm doing right now, is getting to that. So I'm going to kind of be doing this in reverse order as I'm getting this thing back together, and that way you guys can see where we started. Alright, you guys, today we are doing two different installs. The first one, we happen to get one of the GTX, and the steering wheel is not adjustable, but if you look down in here, all the components are. So what I looked up online is that we can basically add this part for about $5.50, and here's your part number for it there. So we're going to take this and we're just going to basically put it in there and see if it can work. The second one is we're going to be installing one of the wakeboard mounts, which is going to be mounted over here. We've got that. I couldn't find any videos on it, so we're going to go through the steps and hopefully this works if anyone else is thinking about it. This is a 2022 GTX. Alright, so for this next part here, before we get to the rest, this part, as you can tell, has the little tiny edges down here, and it's got the opening space, and we're going to match that up with edge. You can see what's on here. So we're just basically gonna slide this down, push it in. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one-handed while filming also, but it does slide down in there. So I'm gonna turn the camera off, probably get some flathead screwdrivers and kind of get in here and wiggle and play with it a little bit and see how we can't get that to work. All right, so coming from the top side, let me get some light in here. So we were able to get it in and just pushed on one side and in. Come get the light, and my son's gonna give it the first pull, see if it works. So he pulls back on that really hard. All right, and as I mentioned, since I'm kind of working through this, it might not be in the exact order, but you're gonna get the understanding of what we have to do. So to get these parts here out, this part lifts up and it's gonna slide out like that. So lift that up and pull this part out. I'm going to try to link these little tiny rubber pieces in. They were a couple bucks a piece, if I remember right. They're going to go in. That allows this to actually kind of compress, allowing that movement. And same thing on this side. And then this part here, we'll just clip it into place this direction. And that's actually pretty easy to do with it being outside. This, when you pull this direction, is going to allow that movement. Coming from down inside here, let's take a look. As you can see, without it being in there, it's got free movement. On each side, let's see what the light's at here, there is a small 10mm bolt and little tiny washer. And this, when this is dropped into place, excuse my hands, doing this one hand, this ends up going through the part and screws into place like that. So that's what it's going to look like down in there. It's going to be hard to show this on film, just getting it in place. It was kind of hard. I ended up using one of the Milwaukee 90-degree angles to loosen it up. So I'll try to record and get in what we can. All right, and I do apologize. This angle is going to be extremely hard for you guys to see, but we are trying to make, again, this little part down in here. What I've done is I have held up this part, and we're just going to kind of reach it down and drop it in, and I might have to kind of free this up, but this is where it came out of. So let me put the camera down. I'm going to have to do this with both hands. All right, as you can tell, I was able to kind of get it in. I don't want to over tighten it, so I'm going to do it by hand just to tighten it up, and then we will do the other side in just a sec. All right, now that I got the two of those back in, I'm just going to do a functions check to make sure that we didn't pretty much screw something up. So we're going to pull back, and there we go. We have movement. It goes up and down just like it's supposed to. So for, I think it's about $15, I now have a moving steering wheel that I did not have before. Well worth the effort. All right, you guys, to get this back on, or again, we're taking it off, but to get it back on, we basically have to push down on these clips. I found the best way to do is put over the steering wheel, and we're gonna turn, and these are gonna go longwise. Just like that. Just kind of push down on them, they should clip in place. We'll lift that up. From the bottom side, there's a couple little clips here. To get this off, you're just gonna use a flathead screwdriver and pop that off. They've pretty much sat back in place. And let's move forward. There was one large, I'm not sure what size it is, I'll have to look it up. This goes dead center right here. For some reason, I had two different screws. Both of these were different sizes. Oh, and I'm sorry, this screw is actually for the one up here in the mirror. Let me get that in the right place. And then I have my other one down here. It's probably the same size, but it went dead center here. I believe these were a 12, but give me a second to check them out. We're gonna put our mirror back on there. All right, so we're gonna put this one on, and these are 10. And then we're just going to double check that all this kind of pushed in place and locked down. And that is, we're going to put our caps back on. When you're pulling these off, I had a really hard time with this one here that's sideways. I kind of pulled it out this way and then kind of tilted up and pulled it. I did pop one of these and we were able to glue it back together. But to put it back in place, so it should kind of pull kind of like diagonal away from it. The other side's drying, so we'll go ahead and get our top put back on. This one's pretty self-explanatory. These right here are just going to drop into place. And we'll put our two screws back in. These are going to be a Torx bit, and I'll grab the size here in just a sec. T30, and we'll get these snugged down. All right, and again, I don't know why the two different sides were different sizes, because they essentially are the same bolt. But these are going to go right up in this spot right here. And this helps hold on this outer piece of plastic. So since the factory sent it with a smaller one on this side and a larger one on the other side, I'm going to put it back the way it was. I don't know if there was a reason for it or if it was just one got stripped out and they decided. And this is where that screw is actually coming up and through right there. So let me grab the other one and put it on. So as you can tell, that's the small piece there that I kind of half broke when pulling it off. But we super glued it. It should be good, and it's going to be held on by these two tabs and the screw still. If it comes loose or anything, we'll just buy another one. They're not expensive. Make sure that there it goes.